sends me to the peak. Without no regret, you got no love. Without no love, you got no regret.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Justine, the domestic diva, and I'm in the home of Fran Capo. Everyone knows Fran Capo as the world's fastest talking woman in the Guinness Book of Records. And we're here in her lovely home. I've had a private tour, and I'm just elated by all of the history and all of her personality that I've experienced here. So I want to talk to Fran today about this new segment on this channel called Today's Parent. And Fran is a mom, and I just want her to tell you how many children she has, or just the demographics of her motherhood.
So I have one kid. His
Okay.
name is Spence, and I'm not going to say actually his age because then you can figure out my age, and you know we're not doing that. But I will say that he and I are so close. Now I got divorced from Spencer's dad when Spencer was only 8 months old, so kind of like I raised him as a single mom.
Okay.
And I'm with my present husband now for 17 years. So Spencer, you know, still talks to his, you know, real, you know, dad, whatever. But Steve is like his real, you know, father type.
Yes.
And so, but me and Spencer are so close. And what I'll say is, look, he's in his 20s, you know, but yet he'll come over every Sunday. I literally will take this pillow and we'll lay here. He puts his head here, and for 2 hours I will rub his back, and we will talk about everything that happened during the week. We talk about everything. Spencer and I are so close. Like when he was little, if he had something bothering him, and I'm talking about like when he was 2 years old, you know, kids, different stages, as you know, because she's got 13 kids, you guys know that. And I would literally kneel down so I was eye to eye with him. And then I would just say, Spence, what's the matter? Or tell mommy. And we would just, and to this day, everybody's like, oh my God, the relationship, like, you know, Mother's Day, you know, like if this was Spence, this is my alligator, obviously my kid doesn't look like this, but if this was Spence, I'd be like, every time I'd see him, like, Spencer, I love you. And I do that all the time. And he's always like, it doesn't bother him at all. And, you know, and people are like, how does it not bother you, Spence? And I'll stick the alligator back here, you know, for scenery. And not under my armpit. That's not really where you want to go. And so, but the thing is, you know, if you just relate to your kid, parents, I think, make the mistake sometimes. They want to be the kid's best friend.
Okay.
Now, I am his good friend,
Right.
but I don't need to be his best friend, even though we are really good friends.
Right.
I needed to be his parent first.
Exactly.
And then, but enough of a friend that he feels he can confide in me.
Exactly.
I mean, down to everything. I mean, now, I've never tried pot or marijuana, any drug or whatever in my life, but I remember at one time, I thought I might want to try it. I remember going to my mother and go, Mom, I think I might want to try, you know, pot. And she goes, well, if you're going to do it with your aunt so-and-so, she smokes. I go, well, you know, that kind of kills it, Mom. So I just never did it. But my point is, my mother taught me that.
Okay.
And now I do that with my son.
Okay. So we see that a lot of the raising of our children, a lot of it comes from our own background, having been parented. And I think that that's a good and a bad thing, because it's not until our children get older that they will then tell us, well, we didn't really like this and we didn't like that, we like this. But what you will see is a lot of what you put in your children, you will see happening in their own lives.
Yeah, and the thing is, I did kind of ask along the way. Like, I would be like, all right, for example, and Spence, you know this, so if you're watching this, you already know this. You know, he was not very good at doing homework. Okay, so I would say, Spence, you got homework tonight? He would go, oh yeah, all I have is math. And I'd be like, really? You have all the subjects and all you have is math homework? You know, oh yeah, and a little bit of English or whatever. And I would go to the school. Now, my son is very smart, you know, but I would go to the school and they would go, you know, Miss Capo, he doesn't do his homework. And I'd be like, Spence. So what I would do is I would punish him. And his punishment was he had a TV in his room that he had to have the TV out. And one day he comes home and I go, Spence, can I see your report card? And he goes into his room and he walks out with his television set. And I went, really? I said, okay, well now you're too used to that punishment, so now we're gonna have a different punishment. I said, since you obviously feel it's okay to get these grades, I will take your report card, I'm gonna blow it up and I'm gonna stick it on your door. So when anybody comes over, they can obviously see all the grades. And he's like, no, I don't want you to do it. Well, obviously you didn't care that you were gonna get them, so we'll just stick that on the door. And then I had another time, I had a whole chart that said you're not allowed to, have your friends over till you reach 100 points.
Okay.
And it had things like change cat litter, 3 points, wash the dishes, 2 points.
Point system.
And he had to get to 100 points
Okay.
before he could have his friends over.
That's smart.
So it was to teach him there are penalties for everything you do.
Exactly.
I felt yelling just gets your anger out,
Yes, it does.
but
That's the
doesn't
truth.
teach the
That's
lesson.
truth.
And I wanted him to know, you do this, these are the consequences.
Yes, yes.
And you always are going to have consequences,
Exactly.
good or bad. If you do
Exactly.
something good, you get good
Exactly.
consequences. You do something bad, I also believe in karma, but that's a whole different thing. I'm just talking about direct consequences.
Exactly.
And I asked him, Spencer, why don't you do the homework? He goes, Mom, I'm in school all day long and I understand it. And then they make us go home and do 20 examples of the same thing and it just doesn't make sense to me. I said, oh, okay, I get it. So it doesn't make sense. I get that it doesn't make sense, but unfortunately that's the system right now.
Exactly.
And if you don't go along that system, whether you think it's not a good system or not, now maybe you can talk to the teacher, maybe you can negotiate. I always feel like don't complain about a problem unless you have a solution. Don't just say that person's doing a lousy job. All right, maybe they are. But what's your solution that's better? Don't just complain.
Yes.
So I was like, well, Spence, see if you can negotiate with the teacher that if you guys all do this, you have a free homework Friday.
Exactly.
Negotiate.
Exactly.
Talk.
Exactly.
Don't
Exactly.
just do something that's going to harm yourself, not do the homework. That doesn't
Right,
make sense.
Exactly. That's right.
So
That's
I
right.
tried to teach him these lessons as he grew up.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, you are a different type of mom. You
What does
were
that
a
mean?
disciplinarian,
Yeah.
but you were also a cool mom, and you were also a mom who worked outside of the home. But you didn't do the normal work in a doctor's office or a dentist or a school teacher.
No, right.
What did you do?
Well, I'm a stand-up comic, and this
Okay.
is a stand-up comic. I'm a writer. I've written 19 books.
Okay.
We're going to talk about some of those books
Okay.
later. The
That's
two
fine.
most recent ones.
Okay.
And well, a couple of things. Now that we're just talking about the books for a second, every time I would write a chapter in the book, I would read it to Spencer afterwards and go, Spence, what do you think about this?
Okay.
So that he saw that I was working, but I would kind of get his feedback, because some of the books were like Myths and Mysteries of New York, Myths and Mysteries of New Jersey, and I would do a lot of research and then I would read it to him, and so that he would become part of the process.
Yes.
My mother also taught me, now granted this is not applicable if you're in an office, but I was at home, and sometimes as a writer you do need to be in your head, but I would say if my mother was doing something and I would interrupt her, my mother would just say, I will hear you totally, just give me a minute or whatever, but I would never go, not now. I would never say that because, or I would say, Spence, if the door is closed, you gotta let mommy work, and then I always had a thing where I said, this is mommy Spencer time, and we would do that so he would be part of the process.
Yeah.
But I said two things, and everybody's different. So I'm not saying that my way, this is the way I did it.
Right.
Stand-up comics go on the road a lot. You're performing in Pennsylvania, Jersey,
Exactly.
wherever you're performing. So, all right, sorry, guy, you gotta leave. And so, wherever you're performing. And so I said, and sometimes I would go to Alaska, I would go to Canada, and I didn't want to be an absentee mom.
All right, so Fran, most parents who work outside the home, especially when you're a mom, you usually choose a career that would somewhat be complementary to your child in school. If you have a school-age child, maybe you'll take a part-time job, or maybe you'll work in the school where your child is, or you'll work in a dentist's office, a doctor's office, or something of that form. But you are so different, and you actually went with your character, which is important when you choose a job. You actually monopolized your purpose. You actually, you didn't just go out and do something traditional. You actually exercised who you are, and you found yourself. You found a place for you in the marketplace. And it's so different from what other parents do.
Well, you know, my
How
whole
were you
thing
able
was
to do that?
I was a stand-up comic before I had a kid.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I said, oh, I'm a kid and my dream is to be a stand-up comic. I was a stand-up comic.
Okay.
I literally initially said, you know, I'm doing comedy. I'm not going to get married till I have my own sitcom. And then I went, oh, they may take a long time. And then I went, all right, I'll get married, but I'm definitely not going to have a kid till I have my own sitcom. This is my thing in my head. And then I said, well, you know what? I'm not putting off my life because I have my dream, but I'll do both. But then the other thing too was, I realized afterwards, it's not to say that somebody offers me a sitcom right now that I wouldn't take it, but
Right.
I actually like doing motivational speaking and stand up better because I could just talk from my experience. I don't have to
see.
memorize somebody else's lines.
Exactly.
And my thing is, I love going out there and living the life that I dream. And I was like, well, I can't stop that, because then how could I ever teach my kid to go out and what he wants to do if I say to him, oh, you know, I stopped my dream because I'm raising you. It was so important that I raised you, which is true. It was very important. Spencer's the love of my life, and then my husband, but
Exactly.
and it was different. You know, Spencer's dad and I got divorced when he was 8 months old. And then Steve and I, my present husband, and then I had a husband in between. That was ridiculous. That was 3 months. That was, oh, he's good looking, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay, fine, whatever. Not good. But then Steve and I have been together for 17 years. And we just got married just like, a couple of months ago, which is pretty funny.
That's
After all that time, we
awesome.
figured we knew each other. But anyway, point being, I said, I cannot tell my son, go after your dreams, if he sees that I stopped my dreams.
Exactly.
He has to know you
Exactly.
can do the whole thing. And there have been people who said, I never had a kid because I wanted to go after my dream. I'm like, you could do both. I did both.
Yes.
You just figure out a way to do that. And why should you, and I don't think this is selfish, why should you suppress who you felt God gave you the talent to be on this earth?
Right.
But at the same time, if you're bringing a kid into this world, you got to give all to your kid too. And so I just said, I'm not going to be one of those parents, not saying bad for any of them are, but for me, I didn't want to have a nanny raise my kid. I wanted my kid to know my morals, my way that I am. So I brought him on the road with me
Wow.
while he wasn't in school, because he went to school. And here's another thing. He's older now, I'm not saying the exact age, which of course I never do. But I have never ever missed a parents teachers conference, a birthday, a in-school play. Never missed one thing. Because if I was on the road and they said this is like a 5-day gig, I was like, Mom, sorry, my kid's birthday's on that day. I gotta end the day early. And they were like, but it's got to be, it's got to be 4 days, or you got to pay for my kid to come out plus my mom, because I got to have both them out here.
That's right.
And my thing was, I have to be the best parent. I brought this kid in the world, but I have to be the best of who I need to be. And so
That's
I would
awesome.
just do that. He would come on, and then at one point, when we were in Vegas, I brought him with me to Vegas. And my mother couldn't come on that trip because she was working, doing assistant teaching, whatever. And so I said to them, I'm bringing my kid. And they're like, well, it's a casino. I said, we'll walk around the casino and we'll go in the back, because it was in it was in Vegas, at the Tropicana. And I said, Spence, you got to sit here while Mommy goes on stage. And it was like the last night, he goes, Mommy, I want to go on stage. And I'm like, you're 2. You don't have an act. And he's like, I want to go on stage. So the manager overheard, and she goes, bring your kid on stage. I'm like, oh boy. I said, all right, Spence. So I taught him really quickly 3 impressions to do.
Okay.
Like Richard Nixon, I'm not a crook, and these other little things. I go, when mommy calls you, she's going to say she has a special guest. You come out and you do those impressions. And he went on stage, did them, and he's like, Mommy, they laughed. And then he wanted to stand up more.
Wow.
So for a while, he started doing stand up, and he would come on the road with me. And I always said, Spencer, confident, not conceited, which I may have mentioned already. And so he would be there. He would be playing his Game Boy. He'd hear his name called, put the Game Boy down, go on stage, do the act, come back and play the Game Boy. And at one point, he, people would say, oh, you're so cute, can you do your act for me? And he goes, Mommy, people keep asking me to do my act off stage. I said, well, then you tell them you're a professional, I can't do it, you can come see my act. I said, but you say it in a very nice way. And I used to incorporate it into the act. I would sell books and tapes after the show. I would have him stand on a chair and literally go like this. Buy a book, send me to college. Buy a book, send me to college. And people go, you usually kidding? I go, absolutely, he's here, he's got to work. And so, but everything was done with a good, sense. He still went to bed early. I didn't put him in the smoke-filled rooms. I got permits so that he could be with me at the different places, from child acting permits.
Oh, look at that.
I just made sure I did everything like above board.
That's awesome. And
I just said to him, Spence, just because you go on stage, no different than any other kid. Maybe that kid plays the oboe, maybe that kid does that. Teachers at school didn't even realize he did that until later on because he never talked about it.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Isn't that something? He picked up humility from you.
And because...
And a whole lot of other things.
Thank you. Yeah, and the thing is, you have to promote your stuff. You have to
Yes.
market. Otherwise, how's anybody going to know you have the best
Exactly.
product sitting on the shelf? You have to say, hey, I do carpets. Hey, I do whatever. I do
Exactly.
stand-up. And, yeah,
Right,
so people
right.
know about it. But you don't go around, I'm the best stand-up comic. I'm the best this. You know what? Nobody wants... They like confident. They don't like conceited. And I said, Spence, you know what? That's the way you got to be. And I said, and always be kind. Learn the janitor's name as well as you know the principal's
Ooh,
name.
look at that.
Okay?
Yes,
You do... People are people. It doesn't
Yes.
matter what job they have.
That's
You
right.
say hi to every one of those people.
That's right.
Because that person's supporting their family with that, or whatever that person's doing, it doesn't make them lesser because they're in a different position.
Exactly.
You be kind.
Wow, that's awesome. That is
So-
awesome. And what we will see in the future of our children, because the young people are our future.
Yeah.
They're our future
Yeah.
presidents. They're our future lawmakers.
And they watch how you handle something.
Exactly.
If something bothers you and you're screaming, then they're like, oh, screaming is how I get that. If they, okay, I'll give you an example. My son is at this condo, right, that he bought, and he said, Mom, I didn't like the way things were being done. So he got himself on the board. I said,
Wow.
do not complain unless you know how to fix it. Because people are so easy to say, this isn't done right, that person's not doing it right. Oh yeah, so then what is your solution? What is your solution?
Yes.
Do not complain to me
Until you have
unless
a
you have a
solution.
solution.
Yes.
You
yes,
know,
that
it's
makes a lot
very
of sense.
easy to say, you're doing this wrong. Well, how should I fix it? I don't know, you're just doing it wrong. Really? That's your answer? You know, maybe it's not so easy to fix. So then you tell me how you would do it, and then you have every right to complain. And so I always said to Spencer, you're not happy with it? Do something about it. Do something about it. I don't want to hear. You don't like your boss? Get another job. You don't like this? Give suggestions.
Yes.
You know, don't complain. Never be a victim.
Right.
Be a victor.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
You're a victim? Oh, I can't. Oh, it's my past. Oh, it's my nationality. Oh, it's my this. You know what? There are people that have come from poverty-stricken homes
Exactly.
that are millionaires now.
Yeah, that's
there are
right.
people that were
Immigrants.
handed everything
Yes.
and they're drug addicts.
Yes. So, I also noticed that in your home you have memorabilia, and I complimented you on the fact that everything in your home demonstrates who you are.
Like even like this,
It
because I
expresses
scuba dive,
you.
so I like to
Right,
have the
exactly.
background of scuba diving because that's what I
Yes,
like.
exactly.
And you know, this is how I feel about it. I know a lot of people are into the, you know, oh, minimalist. You know, if
Yes.
you move, it's going to be a pain. I'm like, but each thing I liked. Maybe not everything. Maybe some get rid of some stuff now. But each thing I bought, I liked. And when I look at it, it gives me joy. And you know what? When I'm dead, you can figure out what you want to do with the stuff. But right now, I'm alive and I'm going to enjoy it. And just because you think that you need to get rid of everything, great for you. Not so much for me.
Exactly.
I want it around. I'm going to enjoy it.
Exactly.
Oh, it's too good. You know what? Everything's got its place. I'm totally fine with it. You don't need to be totally fine with it. If it bothers you, don't come over. You know?
And it's so warm and inviting
Thank
here.
you.
It really is. I'm so comfortable in this place. And so I can imagine what your son felt growing up with you.
Well, you know, we would always have these things, and I would always ask him because, you know, it's me and Spence and my mom until she passed.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, my mom didn't live with us. She did at a certain point, but then me and Spencer, you know, moved
Right.
on our own. And I would be like, everything I said to Spencer, don't say no to something unless it's harmful. Don't say no to something unless you tried it. You can't say I don't like that food. You never tried it. How do you know you don't like that food? You know? And, you know, oh, I don't believe like that. Really? Have you tried thinking? If you believe like that, don't say you don't, you know. So
Right.
in the house, he would get used to, and people would be like, wow, you let your kids stay up late on this night. I go, yeah, you know what? So what? His friend's over. Let him stay up to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't care. You know what? He's enjoying his life. And yes, there's discipline, and I had a lot of discipline, but never in the screaming. Screaming was not my thing. I'm not saying I've never screamed. You know, I'm just saying screaming is not my thing. People can't
Okay.
hear you when you scream. All they hear is a loud voice.
Right.
You know? So Spencer's gotten used to, I'll come home from the grocery store, and I'll be like, Spence, I don't know what this is, but we're going to try it. And he's like, well, what? I don't know. We'll try it. If we like it, we'll buy it again. If we don't like it, we never buy it again. But we just tried it, and so he got used to doing that. You know, for his 21st birthday, I remember saying, "What are you gonna do today?" He was going, "I was kind of thinking I'd relax." I'm like, "What do you mean? You're 21. Relax." I go, "How about jumping out of a plane?" And he's like, "Mom, most parents tell their kids not to jump out of a plane." I go, "You're like the baby bird, and you're getting its wings." He goes, "But I don't have any wings." I go, "You know, but you have the wings of the plane. It'll be totally fine." Now I've jumped out of a plane a couple of times. I was so excited, and he's like, "I can't believe it. Most parents would tell their kids, don't do that." I'm like, life is like a buffet table. Taste a little bit of everything, and then if you don't like it, or if you know for a fact it's bad for you, then no. But I mean,
Right.
if you know, I've never done drugs. All growing up throughout my life. Oh, come on. You know, we all smoke pot. You don't smoke pot. I go, and that's exactly why I don't want to do it. Because you do it. Because everybody else is doing it. Why do I want to be like everybody else?
That's right.
And I'm like, and they were like, "Oh, but you're the only one." Now, so my son knows this, right? You know, my son's 21, never had a drink. Now, I'm not saying that I never had a drink. And I said to him, "Spencer, you don't have to be so, you never." And he goes, "Mom, the people that I see drinking, a lot of times get stupid." And I had a thing that I wouldn't drink if I was driving, working, or with my son. And usually I was doing one of those three things, so I didn't drink. But my son was at a party one time, and this kid said to him, it was a college frat party, and the kid was like, "Oh man, you're the only one not drinking." And Spencer turned around to the kid and said, "That's why your name will never be known." And the kid was like, "What are you talking about?" And Spencer said, "That's why your name will never be known." He goes, "You're so worried about doing what everybody else is doing. I'm having a good time. I'm not drinking.
Look at that.
What do
Be
you..."
drinking to have
Yeah.
a good time.
And I always said to Spencer, the true soul of who you are comes out when you're unaffected by drugs, by
That is
alcohol, by
true.
anything. If you depend on that stuff
Isn't
to
that
make
the
you
truth?
happy,
Yeah.
then you always have to have a crutch to make you happy. But if you learn how to bring your inner core out, you need nothing else but your inner core to make you happy.
That's right. It's like loving yourself.
Yeah.
How can you love other people if you don't love yourself?
Exactly, and it's not conceited. You know, I'm not saying you look in the mirror and go, "Oh my God, I'm the most beautiful person." That's not what I'm saying. But to look at yourself and go, "Hey kid, you're doing okay." You know, just humble.
Yeah.
Not
You can
conceited.
encourage other people. Sometimes you need to encourage yourself.
Yeah, and I say you always need to be your best cheerleader, because
Yeah.
there are people who'll be like, oh, that's hard, you're not going to do it. I'm like, oh, please do me a favor with your negativity, go in that corner. I don't need the negativity in my little space
That's
here,
right. That's right.
so I need to do that. But I do want to say, because in my books, I've written 19 books,
Right.
and each book comes from my soul of things that I
Yes.
want to do.
Okay.
And my mom taught me that nothing is impossible.
Right.
And as I mentioned before, my dad taught me to always find the humor in life. But sometimes people know things, but they don't know how to apply them.
Right.
So one of the books I wrote is called The Humor Approach, Putting Your Funny Side Up. And it's how to add humor in business, but in everyday life. Because it's fine, people say, well, I can't joke at my job, it's about this. Oh, you know what? Doctors joke during surgery, people joke at funeral parlors, I mean, my dad said he didn't want crying at the funeral. And so what I actually did was made you know how in funerals everybody's off in their little corners upset? And I was like, no, everybody, you need to come here. You're all here because you appreciated my dad's life, and that's why you're here. So I want you to tell me the funniest thing that ever happened with my dad. And and the funeral director said, I've never heard so much laughter come out of a funeral home.
Wow.
I said, we were celebrating his life.
Yes.
Not,
Yes.
we mourn his death, but you celebrate his life. And we're gathered because we all liked his life. Now my dad, he was in jail 3 times. He was almost a wise guy, and I wrote a book called Almost a Wise Guy because he had one brother, a highly decorated police officer, and the other one that was in the mob. So it's not
Right.
like my dad didn't do some things he shouldn't have done.
Right.
But my point being is he still was a good guy. I mean, he never murdered anybody, but, he ran some scams, and you know what? He served his time. And, it's all written in that book, Almost a Wise Guy. And people say, why would you write the book? I said, my dad told me to write the book. And then I was like, I don't know, Dad, the names, I changed the names because, some of them were mobsters. I'm like, I don't want them to come after, so I said the names have been changed to protect the author. And, but,
Protect the author.
yeah, because but in the book, The Humor Approach, I mean, I have things in it to show people, if you're not good at telling a joke, how you can add humor into your life.
I
I tell them
see.
the breakdown of a joke, the rule of 3 about the timing, how do you develop your own comic persona, how do you find humor in all different situations, how to play a room, because people have to do not just speeches, what if you have to give a toast at a wedding? What if you are you're doing a talk at your school? What if you're giving an oral presentation about history? You can still add comedy in there.
Right.
Even every history book I've written, and I've written 8 of them, all have humor in it. Like I'll say George Washington slept everywhere. Really? Everywhere? Like I'll make side comments.
Exactly.
You're still giving history. People learn more when they're entertained and educated at the same time.
Exactly.
So the book goes through everything, don't step on the lines, how to tell a joke, how often you should tell a joke, what words are funnier than other words, when do you leave out material, when do you add material, how to ad-lib, how to develop your comic sense of timing. So I have the humor approach, which I feel just really helps people not be so serious with
Exactly.
themselves,
So,
because that's
yeah.
what people do.
You want to break the ice.
It's too serious. I could have been very serious at my dad's funeral, and my mom's, the same thing. And instead I had her Betty Boop dolls out, had all the things, there. I put her poetry out, everything that represented my mom.
Okay. Right,
Because
right.
really, we're energy. Energy dissolves in the state of our body, but doesn't dissolve in the world. So it passes on to another dimension. That's how I believe, where your energy is still there. You know how you walk into a room and it's really negative?
Yeah.
And you haven't said
exactly.
one word, but you feel the negativity, and it's like a dark cloud over you. And I'm like, you don't want to be that person.
That's
You don't
right.
want to be the
That's
person that walks in the room when everybody's like, so-and-so's here.
That's right.
And the best thing you could do is teach your kids. Be the person that brings joy into the room. Violence is never the answer.
Never.
Ever.
Never the answer. So let me ask you this. What would you say to parents who did their best raising their children and things didn't work out too well for their children.
And I have friends that have that situation, and they're good people, and they have 2 kids, and one kid turned out one way, and another kid
Right.
turns out another way. And the thing is this, parenting doesn't come with an instruction book.
Exactly.
So we do our best. I really don't think there's any parent that says, I really want to mess this kid up, okay? I really don't believe there's any parent who does that. Now,
Right.
I'm not saying there are not sick people in the world, like, oh, I'm getting divorced, I need to kill myself and my family. I always go, can you skip the family, just kill yourself? You know, if you're going to kill yourself anyway, don't bring everybody else with you. But that being said, you do the best you can. Sometimes you cannot be the messenger to get to your kid. And sometimes you need an outside person to be the messenger. And if you can get your kid to that messenger, whether that person is a teacher, a priest, a counselor, a rehab place, a anger place, you get yourself, and then you have to almost step back and say, this person's now going to try to handle it. I will be there for my kid as much as I can. What if you have a kid who's, what if you're homophobic and your kid turns out to be gay? What are you going to say? I don't love my kid because of that? Maybe you just figure out a way to find a mutual common ground. If your kid does, something horrible, like commits a mass murder, well, there are penalties for everything you do.
Right.
You didn't raise them that way. They did it. They have to learn there's consequences. Mommy and daddy cannot get you out. You did this.
Right.
You now have to pay the price.
Exactly.
And so what I say to those parents are, you don't have to hate your kid because they did something. What you just simply have to do is say, how can I help this kid? Now, sometimes it may take 5 minutes. Sometimes it may take 5 months. Sometimes it may take 5 years to get that kid to turn around. I believe in God. I believe in Mother Mary. I'm big on that. I believe if somebody comes from a place of goodness, anybody can turn around from wherever they are, whether they're in prison, wherever they are, things can change. So what I would say to those parents is you do everything you can within your power, and you do everything to drag the kid up, but you do not let them bring you down. Because what happens too many times is, let's say you have 13 kids, right?
Yes.
I don't know all your kids. The ones I've met are fantastic, but let's just say you had 2 that were bad, and all your energies go into them, and then all the good kids suffer.
Right, exactly.
And then what?
Exactly.
What are you basically saying? Oh, so the bad kids get all the attention. And I'm saying bad kids. They
Right,
do
I
bad
understand.
things. They're not
The
necessarily
ones that
bad
were
people.
needy.
Right.
That-
It's that one sheep that goes off and you're like, all right, I gotta leave the flock. I gotta go get that one sheep. Which, yes, you do, because the others, and you're like, hold the fort down till I get this. But
Right.
you have to remember, these kids still need you.
Right.
Okay? Because then what happens, they start feeling like, you know what, I'm here too. What, don't I count anymore? So you have to find a way to balance it. Maybe bring them in so they're all trying to do this together. And if this one just wants to be the I don't want to say outcast, but that one, then you have to say, God said walk over a bridge. He didn't say walk over one with dynamite. So, you know what? There sometimes has to be a time where you go, I've tried everything. Apparently you know how to work your life better. I'm sorry, but
Right.
I will be here
Right.
if you're not ready,
Right.
but I can't go down that path with you.
Exactly. And like I said earlier, that parenting is an evolution. And so for the young parent, we know how many sacrifices we may have to make. So this just shows you, as time evolves, that there's less, that we put less of that time into our children, because once they are teenagers and they're grown,
You've hopefully raised them
Exactly.
to get to the
And
point
so-
where they can be independent.
Exactly. And so, a point that I wanted to make is the importance of parents being able to take care of themselves at some point in their life.
If you don't take care of yourself, that is not a good example for anybody else.
Exactly.
But the thing is, I truly believe that God really put us on this earth to find happiness,
Right.
which means the parents too.
Exactly.
Okay? Yes, you can sacrifice. You should not have to sacrifice your own happiness, but you have to be responsible. Doesn't mean you leave your kid at home and you go out and party.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about that. But if you're married, you and your husband still need to have a good relationship. So you know what? We're going to the movies. You guys can handle it for that one night. Mommy and Daddy aren't going to be here.
That's right.
I need to go to the movies. I need to get my nails done. I need to get a 10-minute back massage. And when you're older, sometimes kids see you in one light because they're used to seeing you, and then
Right.
all of a sudden you're ready to discover and do whatever you want to do. I mean, I've done mine all along, so
Okay.
everybody knows me, knows
Okay.
this is who I am, you know, blah blah blah, and I'm not, you know, I've never said I was different. This is who I am. Not to say that I can't learn. I'm just
Right.
saying. And but there are some people that kind of put their own self on hold, and then they want to do it.
I see.
You need to turn to your kid and go, did I let you go after what you wanted? You need to support me now and let me be who I need to be.
That's right. That's right. And so that is today's parent. So now I'd like you to share some of the memorabilia and talk to us about the books and how they're affecting other people's lives, because
Okay.
you're so huge. You're such a big person, and I'm so impressed
Thank
with
you.
your life
Yeah.
and the way you think and how caring you are and your humility. And I'm sure that everybody who you come in contact with or who comes in contact with you experiences this, and they leave, because just this interview alone, and I, birthed 13 children, raised 13
Which is
children.
amazing. Yeah.
And I feel so filled with all of the knowledge, the wisdom that I'm able to get from you, that
Thank
I'm
you.
going to
Yeah.
glean from, because the perspective is so different. And that's one of the things that I love, to have the opportunity to be individual in how you do things, and not someone who's mimicking someone else.
No,
to be
and
original.
And not to say that I haven't heard something and go, oh, that's a good idea.
Right.
Because if it is a good idea, incorporate it into your life.
Exactly.
And if
exactly.
it doesn't fit your personality, not for me. Good for you, not for me. You know, which is fine. Don't be so worried about doing the way that other people structured. The only way,
Right.
you know what? There's a path in the road. That path wasn't there till the first person walked on that
Exactly.
path and created. Then someone went, oh, there's kind of a couple of footprints, I'll go
Right.
that path.
Right.
I see the footprints, I go, well, I'll go down that road a little bit. Oh, well, what's over there? Let's go over there. And actually,
Right.
I've done that.
Create
And
a
Spencer's,
new path.
and Spencer's like, Mom, this is the, I go, Spence, you know I'm not going to go that path. Well, that's been explored.
Right.
I need to explore this path.
Exactly.
And then we can go back to that path.
Right.
But I need to explore this way.
Exactly.
And so I've taught him to always, be willing to explore. Calculated risks, though. Don't be stupid when you do stuff. I mean, we're raised in the city. Check your surroundings. You know what I'm saying? Don't do stuff, without thinking. I jump out of a plane. I don't just, take the first guy. Hey, you got a pilot? Say, oh, yeah, I'll trust you. But, hey, show me your license. You got to do calculated risk.
Exactly.
But I've written the 19 books. But I do want to talk about this. I'm Catholic by being brought up Catholic,
Okay.
but I'm more spiritual than I'm Catholic. I don't go to church all the time. All right, some people may go, "Oh, you're supposed to," but my thing is like, I believe in God. I pray to God every day. I do that stuff. I don't necessarily go to church all the time. Everything's different for everybody else. You go to church, that's great. For me, I pray at home every morning. Do my stuff.
Okay.
Okay. So I was in the middle writing my book, Adrenaline Adventures, which is, excuse the top of my head, Adrenaline Adventures, which is this book.
book.
Yeah. It's
That's
50
huge.
different adventures you could do in a day or weekend, and most of them are with Spencer, me, Steve, and his daughter Jamie.
Okay.
And it talks about where you could do that, and because I wanted to also tell people how you go do it, but also chronicle, what we did. And, when I pass, Spencer will have this, hey, this is all cool things I do with my mom. So anyway, there I am, I'm sleeping 4 o'clock in the morning, And I hear this voice say, Fran, get up. You got to write this book. And I'm like, what kind of weird dream? So I turn on the lights. I look around. I don't see anybody. I turn out the lights. And the voice is like, get up. You have to write this book. It has a message that will change the world. So I'm turning it and I go, all right, I hear you. I don't know where you are. I don't know if I'm dreaming. I don't know what, but it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not writing a book at 4 o'clock in the morning. And it's, the voice is talking. I can't tell you whether it was male or female because the voice wasn't like distinct like that, but I could actually hear the way we're talking, a voice. So I write a piece, you know, every writer has pen and paper by their thing, you know, so I write down, Hopeville, the city of light. And I say, all right, I'm going back to sleep. You know, I don't mean to be disrespectful, whoever you are, I'm going back to sleep. Next morning I get up, I take my kid to school, my mom to work. I had to get my car fixed, drive to the place, brought my laptop, was gonna work on the book Adrenaline Adventures. I have never had writer's block in my entire life. I went to literally physically put the keys on the typewriter, right? And on the typewriter, on the computer, and my hands wouldn't move. And I'm like, oh, this is really weird, you know? So then I said, well, I can't sit here for 3 hours while they're working on my car. I have to do something. So I pulled out of my back pocket the title, Hopeful, the City of Light. And I said, let me try to write that. And for the next 3 hours, I sat there and I don't know what I was writing. I can't tell you as I was writing it what I was writing.
Okay.
All I know is I wrote the words, the end. The guy goes, Fran, your car's ready. And he goes, that was literally very strange. And I said, what? He goes, you didn't move, you didn't drink water, you didn't go to the bathroom, you didn't look like you were breathing. He goes, you kind of look like a zombie, just sitting there typing. Your focus was like this. And then I said, I think I wrote a book. And he goes, how do you not know? I go, I actually can't tell you one word that is on that page. So he said, okay, so then I was in the middle of writing Adrenaline Adventures, so I left the book. And then like 3 weeks later, I said, I should actually read, like, what's in this book? And it was a story about a widowed mother holding down 3 jobs, a little boy that gets bullied, a successful businessman who gave up having a family and everything to build a business, and an old man who felt he had all this knowledge, but nobody wanted to hear him because he was old. They were all discouraged with where they were in life. They said a prayer, and an angel of light came to them on the same night and said, if you just change this little thing in your life, it'll have an effect and change, ripple effect on the whole town. And they were like, but I'm just a little boy, but I'm just a mother, but I'm just the, and she was giving them encouragement. She said, they were like, we don't know who to trust. She said, I'm gonna give you an external candle that will be on your shoulder. When you think good thoughts, the candle will be bright. When you think bad thoughts, it'll be red, and you'll be able to tell. But what if the candle catches fire on my hand? And they were going through all these logical things, and the angel was saying, this is a reflection of your inner soul. And people try to trick the candle and everything, and it goes through the whole story. So I write the book, and again, I just leave the book. And then a couple years later, I said, you know, I wrote this book. I should probably do something. The last thing I want is I go to heaven and God's like, hey, I gave you a book. You didn't do anything with it. Now you got to sweep the sky for the rest of the, you know. And so I was like, I better do something. So I put it online as an ebook.
Okay.
And because originally I got the message first back in 2004, didn't do anything with it to 2014. I mean, that's how long I left the book. Okay? And then I was like, okay, I should do something. And when I put it on as an ebook, the very first day it hit number 11 on Amazon. Number 11 on Amazon. And then I found out the significance, which I didn't even, someone pointed out, that the L's in here look like 11. 11 is a spiritual number. I didn't even know that. And I kept saying, oh, I wish it would have hit number 1. 11 is actually more of a spiritual number.
Isn't that something?
And then, and I was like, wow, I didn't know. Then people started pointing out things, so I was like, should I change the book? And it was ebook. Then I was leaving for Korea because I do a lot of stuff with the military, performing, you know, and stuff, and I was going to the DMZ zone and everything. And I had said, all right, God, you know, whoever gave me this book, Mother Mary, whatever, if I'm supposed to get this book out, you need to tell me how I'm going to get, you know, this book out. And all of a sudden, what happened was, the next morning, someone called me up and went, "Oh, Fran, congratulations, you're on CBS." I go, "CBS? I'm laying in bed." And someone else called me up, "Oh, I saw you in the English newspaper, Metro News." I'm like, "What?" So I was like, "Spencer, can you find out what people are talking about?" I had done a video 3 years ago. The guy who did the video on me had it on his shelf, had happened to see it the same night I said the prayer, "God, if I'm supposed to get this out there," decided to edit the video that night, put it up on YouTube, and the video went viral. So stations around the world were picking it up. Started asking me to go on, so I said, okay, if I could talk about Hopeville. Not everybody didn't want me to. Some people wanted me to just talk about the fast talking, but the ones who let me did, people saw it. People started calling my home and saying, "My husband died 6 months ago. Your book was the only thing that gave me hope. Can you make it into a soft cover?" I'm like, "I'm leaving for Korea, blah, blah, blah." But in 3 days' time, there was a company called 48 Hours, and I had the book turned into an ebook, and I said, "I'll mail it to you when I get back." I wasn't allowed to give physical presents to the soldiers, so I made up some of the principles of Hopeville into a little bookmark and gave it to all the soldiers.
Okay.
I didn't know if I should touch the book, like edit it.
Okay.
And there was a guy who wrote a book called Conversations with God. And I said, "All right, God, let me know if I'm supposed to edit this book." His editor was at the book signing, and his editor had not been in any of the other 40 book signings except the one I came to. So everybody went over to the author. I went over to the editor. I go, "Did you edit the book?" And he goes, "How do you edit God?" So then I went, "That means I'm not supposed to touch it." So instead, I pulled out in the back of the book the 44 principles that are the lessons of Hopeville.
Okay.
Like, you control your inner light by your thoughts, bringing joy to others increases your light, people do business with people they like and trust, speak from your heart, don't let others douse your flame, and pulled out what the principles from the book were. So I called them the
And
44
very simple.
secrets. Very simple.
Very simple.
This book is written like a parable. And so many people told me to touch your life. So what we're doing with it now
Okay.
is this guy, Eric Wilson, who runs a company called JTC, which stands for Join the Conversation. It's a nonprofit organization
Okay.
out in Texas.
Okay.
He works with prisons. He works
Okay.
with kids that, teenagers that are troubled.
Okay.
And we decided to do a program called Pizza with the Police
Okay.
to get neighborhoods together with the police and to get people in prison to know that, just because you're there, just because you did something doesn't mean you can't turn around your life. Teenagers saying, do something positive in the community.
Right.
You have to live in this community.
It's your community.
Don't destroy
Yeah.
it. Do something. So we've been getting sponsors for the book. And then JTC takes the books and brings them out to the different places. And I do videos to all the places that he goes.
Okay.
And then the books are being sponsored. So there are different organizations, like if they bring me in to do my motivational speaking,
Okay.
I go there, I do my motivational speaking. Some people will buy the book for themselves, but then they'll give me an extra, the books are cheap. And they'll give me an extra, let's say $100 to sponsor 10 books.
Okay,
And
I
then
see.
those 10 books will go to a prison, will go to a school, will go to, a veterans association, so that other people can get the messages of the book. And the reason I purposely did the book cheaper was because I wanted everybody to figure. Then a little kid came up to me and said, "I want to read the book, but I'm blind. Would you ever think of doing a CD?" And so then I did a CD, and I did all the voices on the CD.
Okay.
I didn't have the money at that time to do the CD. All of a sudden, out of the blue, somebody says, "I was told that I should offer my studio to you." Everything with this book falls into place so I can get this message out to people. My goal is to, through your show, through anybody's show, if you read the book, just lend the book to somebody, tell
Right.
somebody about the
Okay.
book,
Okay.
so that the principles of the book, which were
Right.
given to me through divine guidance or whatever you want to say, can get out there. Such simple principles that can change
Exactly.
lives.
Exactly. And people make their lives so complex.
Oh, they do. They do.
And
Yes.
it's their life, and whatever God put in you for your purpose is only in you.
Exactly. And everybody has a special talent inside.
Yes.
You find out what that talent is and you
Right.
let it shine.
Exactly.
And okay, that person can sing and you can't sing. That's their talent.
Exactly.
You have your own talent that God
Exactly.
gave you.
Yes.
Now, God gave it to you, but you have to act upon it. You can't just say, well, I know I'm a good singer and then sit in the room and do nothing about it, or I know I'm a good carpenter, or
Exactly.
And there's a chapter in this book that talks about the old man going into a carpenter shop, and the carpenter's sitting there and whittling away, and his candle goes out and he slumps over, but then he has this dream of this beautiful workshop and everything's handcrafted. And the guy in the dream to the carpenter says, I'm the you never let yourself be.
Wow.
And then so the guy, when he woke up from his dream, realized he can fulfill that dream.
Wow.
And
that's awesome. That's awesome. Miles Monroe put it like this. He says, if what you see is not what you saw, then what you see is temporal. And we have to understand that too. We have to understand timing. We have to understand seasons. It's like, if you don't quit, you will win.
Exactly. And the thing is, there's a Japanese proverb, fall down 7 times, get up 8. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. It matters how many times you get up.
Exactly.
And, listen, I've been held up at gunpoint 3 times. I've had my house burned down.
Wow.
I had my mom and dad both die of cancer. My mother found that she had cancer on a Monday, was dead on a Wednesday.
Wow.
And I had taken care of her during the time. And I'm not saying that as a pat on the back. I'm saying that she had a intestinal thing, and then it led to something else. And I was like, how did nobody discover she had cancer that whole time,
Right.
But my thing is, my mother kept saying to me, my body may be weak, but my mind is strong.
Yes.
And the thing is, you keep your mind focused. You can walk into a room and you can go over there and go, wow, that corner's really messy. But then you go over there and you go, wow, that's a beautiful corner. So do you go over there and you go, ugh, horrible? Or do you go, wow, beautiful? Choose where you want to focus.
Exactly.
And if somebody says you have an incurable disease, you know what? At one point in time, they thought that, the scurvy. That you could, and then they found out you eat limes. There's no more scurvy. I don't believe God put any illness on this planet that some herb or something can cure.
Right.
And there's another thing too that I always say to people, because people, I'm against that. Mother Teresa said, I will never go to an anti-war rally, but I will go to a peace rally. Do they have the same meaning? In a sense, one's against something, one's for something. The against is filled with hatred. The for is filled with hope and promise.
Exactly.
And if you have a hope and promise that God gave you inside of yourself, of an ultimate talent, of a dream,
Right.
you make that come to fruition.
Oh, yes, that's true. And also, people don't like to wait. And another statement that Dr. Miles Monroe made is, most people die in the waiting room.
I love that. Yeah, you know what? You're right, people don't like to wait. So let me just say this, and only because you brought that up, and I never thought, you know what? Microwave, you don't wait, not healthy for you. So you want it instantly? Yeah, go ahead, get all those radioactive waves in there and blah, blah, blah. Home cooked meal that you have to, and you know I don't like cooking, we discussed this already. I'm the only Italian that doesn't like garlic and onions, and she loves kitchen. Okay, but I could take the fresh mashed potatoes and mush them up, and it takes me longer. I could take the box and do that. Now, granted,
That's right.
it is a lot of time, and this is why I don't like cooking, because I go, wow, 5 hours to eat in 20 minutes. Ooh, a lot of work. But I do realize the nutrients and the benefits and the health of that.
Oh, yes.
So yes, there's good and bad in each thing, and people don't like to wait. But if you learn that every day is a gift,
Yes.
and you live in the now,
Yes.
then you're not waiting.
Exactly.
You're enjoying the daily part of the journey to
And
get
longevity,
there. Yeah,
healthy longevity.
but
Healthy
each day is a gift then.
Yes, it
If
is.
you woke up each day and said, what wonderful thing do I have to look forward to, or like, oh, I gotta go to
Or
work.
you mourn about yesterday.
And then you're living today as of yesterday.
Yes.
And then you worry about tomorrow.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing, and even in the Bible, and I'm not a big Bible person, but I mean, I do know that this is in the Bible. Jesus said, does worrying add one bit of solving
One
the problem?
cubit to your stature.
No. Oh, is
No.
that the word?
Yes.
It adds nothing. So I'm going to worry about tomorrow. I'm going to worry about what I did yesterday. I'm going to worry about that. Okay, so could we get the worrying part out? And I'm not saying I still don't, I mean,
Right.
there are things I still sometimes go, Capo, that's not going to help. So
Right,
stop
right.
with the worrying part.
Right.
But I allow myself, when something happens, 10 minutes to cry up front. And then I cry, get it all out,
And
I
then
go.
you get things
and then I'm
in
like,
right perspective.
exactly. I said, I needed to get the crying out. I'm going
Right.
to cry, scream into my pillow, do whatever I
Right,
got to
right,
do.
right.
And now, what do I need to do to solve it?
That's
What do I
right.
need to do
That's
to
right, be a
do
problem
it?
solver.
And
Exactly.
it's scary sometimes to go, oh, I know I'm going to have to go against these things. But half the times, most of the stuff we worry about doesn't even come to fruition.
It's true.
And-
it's true. And fear. The acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real.
Exactly. And here's the thing about fear, which is another thing. Let's say you want to jump out of a plane. Maybe not you personally, but me. Okay.
thought of it.
Yeah, okay. So let's just say, and you really want to do it. Okay, so I'm scared I'm not going to do it. I'm scared I'm not going to do it. Scared I'm not going to do it. The person who's scared and doesn't do it lives that over that day, that day,
Yes,
that day, that day.
exactly.
The person
You
who's
never put
scared
an end to it.
and does it,
do it afraid.
you're still scared. I'm still scared when I do it, but I've done it. I was scared, I did it, and now it's done.
Exactly.
Here is, I'm scared I don't do it, I'm scared I don't do it, I'm scared I don't do
Exactly.
it. All these days of being scared and not doing it, I still haven't
Exactly.
accomplished it.
Exactly.
Just-
so now you have you now created a different memory
Exactly.
because you did it afraid, and so now you get to see that there's no more fear
Right.
because you've done it. And if you did it afraid and you have a new memory, that means that you didn't die.
Right. And that's why people say, but aren't you scared? Oh yeah, I didn't say that I do these things and I'm not scared. I said I've weighted, the pros and cons,
Exactly.
and I'm with an outfit that, has done a million dives. Listen, I can walk out the street right now and I get hit by a car. Does it mean I'm never going to drive a car again? No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are risks for everything that
Yes.
could happen. I mean, there's freaky accidents that happen. So I read about a lady who was sitting at the beach and an umbrella went up in the air and it came down and stabbed her and she died. I mean, who's going to say, oh my gosh, I'm never going to the beach again because another umbrella might fly up in the air?
It's true. It's true. And I heard about a woman who was in stage 3 cancer and was expected to die of cancer. But then she got into a car accident. So cancer didn't kill her. It was the car
Wow.
accident.
And I have friends who have cured themselves, not them, with the help of a team,
Okay,
and
okay.
cured themselves. My friend Saren Rothberg has a organization called Comedy Cures, and we do comedy shows with
Okay,
them for the
okay.
caretakers and the patients.
Okay.
And she was told 6 months to live. It's like 9 years later. Okay.
Wow.
The point is, humor is totally important in your life because it relieves stress,
Yes.
relieves things on the
Yes, and
adrenals,
very hard to
meditation.
do it like a medicine.
Yeah, really, but it actually literally does
Yes,
change your
yes,
physiology
yes, it does,
inside and
yes.
your mental state.
Mhm.
Having hope,
Mhm.
if you always have something to look forward to,
Yes.
you will always say, oh, but I want to see my kid's graduation, or I want to see this.
Exactly.
And if you always find something to be hopeful for, then you always look forward to the next day, and you still enjoy this day.
Exactly.
But the other thing too is, it's so important on a daily basis to tell your kids, tell the people you love in your life, text them, hey, just thinking about you, love you.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's right, that's
thank
right.
you so much for supporting
Yeah,
me.
that's
Hey,
right,
I
that's
just
right.
want you to know your hair looks great today.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want you to know that outfit looks good on you.
It's true. It's
Just
true.
little things that
It's
make
true.
people feel good.
It's true, and I done that, and I did that just the other day. I text my daughter like 3-something in the morning and just tell her, I really appreciate you taking us out to dinner. Got off the plane from Washington. She took us out to dinner, and it was just awesome.
Yeah.
Just because, and especially as parents, and we were talking about today's parent, we give a lot of love. We give
Yeah.
the love that we have in us to
Mhm.
our children. And when we get that from our children,
Oh,
oh
it
my
feels
goodness, what
so.
an awesome feeling.
You sit there and you go, how sweet, how
Yeah.
and like my son, every night, he doesn't live here anymore, like I said, he texts me, "Good night, Mommy, love you." And like, I have a thing of that I stay up late. He's like, "Mommy, are you in bed yet?" And I'm like, "All right, who's the parent now?" And then he's like, "Mommy, you need to, you run yourself ragged." And I'm like, "Okay, Spence,
Exactly.
But they care. And I mean, we joke about it. And then a lot of times I'll say something to him and I'll go, you want me to listen to you? Yeah, you need to listen to Mom. I don't care. I'm like, and his girlfriend cracks up because when he comes over, I literally will take him and I'll go, "I love you, I love you, I love you." And she just laughs. I go, "Soon, when I feel more comfortable, I'm going to start doing that to you, just so you know." And I do it to Steve. I do it to my cats. I do it. I just feel like, why are people so worried about showing love? So, you're.
Well, a lot of it, what I see today also is the control. You have controlling people, and you have people who are more into pleasing other people than they are doing what their gut feeling. See, influence. We are, and especially as adults, you would think that it's just among children when they get influenced. But adults are influenced greatly by people. And especially even with the girlfriend thing, where, women and their friends, you heard the saying, two's company, three's a crowd. How do you, as an adult, separate yourself from all of that so that you can be you and be able to love without, looking for something in return? Or
well, I don't think you should. Yeah, you shouldn't do it. I mean, you should do it because you want to do it, not because of what you're going to get back.
Right.
I mean, business, you barter. Obviously, that's a little different. It's like, hey, I'll help you grow your business. You help me grow my business, and and stuff like that. Or you recommend somebody. They did a good job. Why wouldn't you recommend them?
Exactly.
I rather my friend. Not that you rather your friend get the job. Why would you do it? Show business is, sometimes people worry, I'm going to go audition, I'm not going to tell my friend about it. And I'm like, you know what, somebody's got to get the job. Yeah. I'll tell my friend about the audition. And if they get the job over me, am I going to be thrilled? No, I'm happy that they got it. Of course I would have liked to get it. But if I could also help somebody else get it, I'm going to do that.
Support.
Because then maybe that wasn't the particular audition for me.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But as far as, I don't know, I guess I've just always not worried about peer pressure. I don't know why it's always been in me. Just people would be like, "Fran, we're going to do that." And I'd be like, "Go ahead." And they'd be like, "Well, we're all going to do it. You're going to be the one not doing it?" Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's me.
That is awesome.
And my son's like that
true to
too.
yourself.
And I just always felt I'm not going to be forced into doing anything. And the few times I have let myself do it, I really did not like the feeling inside me.
Okay.
And because then I said, like, "Why did you do that? You didn't want to do it." Now, I'm not saying that there's things in life you don't want to, you have to, and when I say schmooze, I don't actually like that word because I really will just say something nice, only if I really believe it in the person.
Okay.
I'm not going to say, "Hey, your hair looks good," if I really don't think it does.
Okay.
Instead, I'll say, "I love your nails." You know what I mean?
See.
Like,
I
will something that I actually really
Exactly.
believe.
Okay.
I won't say something if I don't believe it.
Okay.
And it's the same thing, like I can only endorse a product if I really believe it, because I get asked to do endorsements and spokesperson work.
Okay.
But if somebody asks me to do a cigarette campaign, I'm sorry, I don't smoke, I don't believe it. But we'll pay me, well, that's really good, but invent a cigarette that's not gonna harm people, and I'll do that one for you.
Right.
But I've always been where people will be like, "Fran, you should be there, you should be seen." I'm like, you know what, this is just not my thing. But at the same time, I do realize why people have to, if it's your boss. But like, for example, my son was in a situation, where this client was doing, stuff he wasn't supposed to do. And the guy was trying to convince my son to do it. And my son was like, "I appreciate it, but I can't." And he's like, "Well, if you want to work for this company." And Spencer was like, "Well, I have to think about it, sir, but I just can't."
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I said, "You stick your ground.
Exactly.
You
Integrity.
do not
What you say,
compromise
what you
your
do,
ground.
one.
You don't have to be nasty saying it to someone. I'm sorry, right now I'm gluten, soy, and dairy free.
Okay.
To me, honestly, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I need to do it because of
Exactly.
Hashimoto's and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And people are like, well, you could just have a little bit of this. I'm like, you can have that, you can enjoy it.
Right.
Please don't worry about me.
Exactly.
Let me just do what I need to do for me.
Exactly, for you.
You know?
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
but then,
individuals.
Fran, I don't know what to cook for you. Don't cook for me. I'll bring my own apple. I'll bring my own nuts. I'll bring my own thing. I'm good.
Exactly.
Just
Exactly.
don't worry about it.
Yeah, and because
You know?
it would be more harmful to you.
Yeah.
You know,
And
if
then they'll
you
be
just
cooking something that I
indulge.
can't eat.
Exactly.
And then, you know, and
And it doesn't have to be stressful.
no, why make it stressful for them or for me?
Exactly.
Don't go out and worry about buying, you know, like I have a birthday party every year. I do have a gluten-free cake so I can eat part of my own cake.
Right.
But I say to people, bring healthy food to my party.
Mm-hmm.
But just remember, not everybody eats healthy. So if you bring cheese doodles, I'm sure somebody will eat the cheese doodle.
Right.
You know, I'm just saying in general, that's
Right.
what I would like.
Right.
But I do have non-alcoholic parties. And here's the weird thing about today's society. They say, were you a former alcoholic? I go, wow, really? Just because I don't drink, that means I was a former
Exactly.
alcoholic? That's pretty sad that the state of society is that if you don't drink, it's because you had a problem.
Right.
Maybe I don't drink because I just don't want to.
Exactly.
And
It's a choice.
and so I just say, and I've had one or two friends go, oh my God, I feel like I'm back in, you know, second grade non-alcoholic party. I go, here's the option. You don't have to come. I still love you. You don't have to come. I'm good, you know?
That's right.
And
That's true.
and people are like, how are you so confident with yourself? And I go, well, should I be a phony?
That's true. And since you raised that point about the non-alcoholic parties, then that would also be true for attending parties
Yeah.
where there is alcohol being served and you have children, especially teenage children, or, you know, children who, while everybody is, all the adults are talking and,
Yeah.
you know, distracted from the little ones running around,
Yeah.
the little ones can be focusing on that alcohol and what it's doing to people who are drinking it because they're watching the transformation.
And that's how
And
my
we
son
don't often,
yeah.
we don't often realize that.
My,
That's what's
well, I
happening.
told you, my son doesn't drink.
Okay.
And I told you, he's been to many parties, and
Okay.
you know, and a
Okay.
lot of his friends. After a while, you start to tend to be with the people that
Right.
kind of have the same philosophy as you.
Exactly.
But you know, when he was going to college, 98% of the people drank. You know, and he would just be the one person at the party, and you know, they'd make fun of him or whatever, and he would be like, or he would go, "Mom, I watch people go from being fine to being stupid."
Okay.
And he goes, not everybody, because not everybody's getting drunk just because they drink. You could have a social drink and you can be fine. You have one drink, you're fine. But if you're doing something, you're drinking, and you get in a car and you're driving, you're not only jeopardizing your life, somebody else's life. You need to be a little forward thinking. And you know what? And you just need to
It's
be
not
able to feel
responsible. Yeah.
confident.
Right.
But I mean, I've had people where they literally be like, take the drink, and I'd go, you people can chant as much as you want. I said, you actually sound nice chanting, but that's not going to change me to having
Right,
the drink.
right.
And then they're like, ah, man. I'm like, oh, man. Well, you know what? Ask that person to do it. I'm sure that person will do it. Be fine. Go over there. And I just joke it off because no one's going to force me to do it.
And you also think about the reason for the drinking, especially if it's not so-called social drinking. Because for you, look at your personality. There are people who take mind-altering drugs or alcohol
Yeah.
to get to be like you. So wouldn't you think that you're fine? I would think
Oh,
You
I
are
see what
per-
you're
you
saying.
know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, because I'm outgoing.
You've got- exactly.
Yeah. Well, but, and I understand that some people say it takes the shyness off. But honestly, a lot of that comes from them not being secure
exactly
in who they are.
Because if you're shy, be fine with it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So if you're shy, so I don't have a lot to say. I'm observing.
Exactly.
You have a
don't
problem with
need
that?
to change
Yeah.
that.
You know, and unless they feel it's a flaw in their character. But that's only your perception of what other people are saying about you.
Exactly.
We need the quiet people. We need the loud people. We need the,
That's
you know,
the truth.
the logical people. We need
Yes.
the adventurous
Yes.
people. We need
Exactly.
the every kind of person that's on this planet, except for maybe the, you know, the hurtful,
Criminals
the criminals and
yes,
people like
exactly.
that. But every kind of different variety. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the accountants, the scientists, the
Isn't that the
doctors, the
truth?
artists. We wouldn't
Yes,
have that if they all
yes.
don't come from a different,
Thought
personality.
process, yes.
And you don't need, that's the thing. It's like, I just really wish I could get into people that you just really don't need this stuff. Explore who you are. Go inward.
Exactly.
Don't go outward to
That's
make
right.
yourself go outward.
That's
Go
right.
inward to bring yourself outward.
Exactly.
And if your outward person is quiet, so your outward person
Yes.
is quiet.
That is your
So
footprint. That is
what?
who you are. Yes. That is who you are.
Be confident in your own skin.
Yes. That
Yeah.
is awesome.
And that's what
That's awesome.
even I love talking to little kids because they'll go, well, my friend picked on me because I didn't have those clothes. I go, what's so great with her clothes? What's so good about that?
Yeah, and then what that does is put pressure on a parent.
Yeah, then they got to go do that. And then this is what I say. Now, there is true bullying. I mean, you can't deny that there are people who will bully because they're not the same.
Yes.
They'll bully because a person's an easy target.
Right.
They'll do any and all of that.
Right.
And what I say to those parents, and there's a whole thing on bullying in
Okay,
here,
okay.
it again told in parable, but your kid gets bullied, enroll them in karate, enroll them in aikido, because those things
So
are not
it's
about violence.
No, it's not.
Those things are about self-confidence
Exactly,
and knowing that
exactly.
you can protect yourself.
Yes.
People go, oh good, he's a martial artist, he can chop these people, beat it. That's not
No.
what those martial arts are about.
No, it's not.
It's actually about teaching you inner discipline and having the
Yes,
confidence.
exactly.
But it is also self-defense.
Exactly.
And then your kid knows that, so if there is a bully that comes up and that bully doesn't expect it, you knock that bully on the ground, and all of a sudden that bully's so not willing to bother you anymore.
And also just to refrain you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pick up from confidence.
Okay.
Okay, and what are the real reasons, one of the main reasons for people drinking?
Right,
Why
okay.
do they think it's a social thing?
Right.
Because this so-called social drinking is really done in private first. Or let's say it starts as a social
Yeah.
thing, but then it ends up behind the scenes.
That people
where
will continue.
Yeah,
And not
they're
everybody,
killing
but a lot of
themselves,
people.
but a lot of people are now using it because, let's say, for instance, a person drank and they were the life of the party.
Right.
That is inspirational. It's like, wow.
Right.
I can do that again. I can be the life of the party.
And see, here's the thing, is once you get, it's like Pavlovian, once you get reinforced with something and you want to duplicate it, then they're going to go, the alcohol made me like this, so to get to be the life of the party, I need to do that. But now here's the beauty thing of, if you could actually just step back 1 second and go, so how do I be the life of the party without having to have that crutch? See, I look at alcohol, in my opinion, and I'm not putting it down for other people, I look at it as a crutch.
Yes.
I need that to make me
I
who
do,
I
yes.
who I want to be.
Yes.
No, show me how I could do that
Exactly.
without that
Yes, yes.
on my own. Maybe the life of the party is someone who knows how to do magic tricks. Maybe the life of the party is someone who could tell really good stories.
Exactly.
Maybe the life of the party is someone who can explain a scientific thing that just happened that nobody else knows. Life of the party doesn't mean that you're standing on the table and you're dancing in a hula skirt. I mean, half the times elderly people don't even remember what they were doing.
Exactly. Or maybe have to apologize for what they were doing.
I gotta tell you a story. So, my son, when he was in high school, 3 years he was at the Frank Sinatra school, and then the last year he went to this school in Ossining, and he got invited to a house party. He goes, "Mommy, there's a house party." I didn't know house party meant party. I just thought house party meant a party at someone's house.
Right.
So did he.
Okay.
So he's at the party and he calls me on his cell phone. He goes, "Mom, everybody here is drinking." And I said, "Well, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to pick you up?" And he goes, "I can't." I said, "Why?" He goes, "'Cause there's a girl who is drinking and I could see the guys are trying to convince her to go in the back and I'm worried something will happen."
Wow.
He goes, "So I took her cell phone and I called her dad and said to
Okay.
come pick her up."
Wow.
So he waited
See that?
with the girl
Wow. Oh,
to
my
the
goodness.
father came. But he said, I said, make sure that father knows you're not the one
Okay.
that gave her the alcohol. I don't want you getting
my
blamed for
goodness.
something. So then he did, and then afterwards he said, Mom, just everybody's getting stupid here. So then I picked him up. And a lot of times because of that, he, got bullied.
Okay.
My son's been beaten up in school. He was little. He got beaten up in school a lot.
Okay.
And I said, and he would have, people would punch him, and he goes, I allow them 3 punches. I go, no, you do not allow anybody 1 punch. I said, I will never be mad at you if you raise your hands in self-defense.
Right. Right.
I said, I'll actually be mad if you don't. Because
Okay.
no one has the right to touch your body,
Exactly.
okay? I said, now, I don't want you to start a fight with that ever. You use your brain, you use your mouth, you do not use your fists. Unless you have to.
Right.
And so when it came time to take martial arts, he chose Aikido. Aikido is the only one where you use the other person's energy against them. So if they're coming at you, you take them and you just go like this and you flip them. Based on their own forward motion, they wind up on the ground, not because you punched them,
Right,
not
right.
because you did anything.
Exactly.
You're
It's
taking
like
their energy.
refraining them
Exactly.
from hurting you.
So, and it was funny because the sensei said, most kids his age don't pick Aikido, they pick the more aggressive ones. And Spencer said, I don't want to hurt, but I don't want them to hurt me. And he goes, but I'll use their own energy against them. I said, Spencer, that's also a lesson for life. Somebody's got negative energy, you don't have to accept it. Someone's yelling and say, there was a story once about, there was all these people lined up to see Buddha.
Right.
And everybody's, oh, Buddha, oh, Buddha, Buddha. And one guy went up to Buddha and said, you bald, you fat, and everything. And Buddha's just sitting there, with his big Buddha smile on him. And the guy's going, do you hear what I'm saying? And Buddha said, if somebody gives you a gift and you don't accept it, who does the gift belong to? So I was like, they give you a gift of negativity, you do not have to accept it.
That's
Just
right.
give it
That's
right back
right.
to that person,
Exactly. Shake the dust off your feet.
And the thing that I'm upset that they don't teach in schools is self-confidence.
Yes, because they have already shown that they cannot handle the bullying.
Yes.
So there has to be something that they can do to encourage the person who is bullied. Because what happens is that the person who is bullied usually become a bully.
Well, because
In
that's
some form.
Yeah.
They end up, their behavior changes and it becomes more negative.
because
They
they
don't
wind up
grow
taking it and taking it and
exactly.
taking it and taking
Until
it
they can't
instead
take
of
it anymore.
being able to
Exactly.
do it. I mean, at one point in life, I was beat up by 15 people. I mean, we had a thing that happened, and it was a bad situation, and then people were like, "You're gonna go to court and fight against those people?" I was like, "Hell yeah! I'm not gonna let my life be." And I was 12, and I'm like, if I don't stand up,
Right,
then forevermore I will have to worry about these people.
exactly.
And I'm not saying I wasn't scared. Obviously, my mother and father were with me. It was, and may have helped that my last name was Capo, and they might have been worried that something might have happened. But the bottom line is, I went to court, and and I said what happened, and they were like, I was like, Your Honor, I did not start this fight, and somehow I wound in the middle, and whatever. Then they were told, order protection, they had to stay away, and blah blah blah. But the point being is, it is hard raising kids. And here's another thing that I'm very disappointed, and in this day and age, it's a really hard thing.
Okay.
When I went to school when I was young, you always have people that agree and disagree with you. I actually think it is very disgusting on college campuses that people who have a different opinion can't speak.
Exactly.
Because if you are not willing to at least listen to other people's ideas, You don't have to agree with all of them.
Exactly.
But even if you get like one little thing, like, oh, that, even just try to understand why they think like
yeah,
that.
Yeah, to try and understand their perspective.
Exactly.
Because it's all about perspective.
But to just not even allow it, how close-minded is that? I only want to live in a world with me, well then all the Chinese people to live together, all the, black people, African American, sorry if I'm not being politically African American, all the white people, then we should all just not be together because everybody's got their own thing. No, that is not life, that is not reality, and that is, and you know what? You're gonna win, this other thing, I didn't like, well, we play a game, we're all winners. Really? They're winning and there's losing. And in a baseball game, in any sports game, in the Olympics, there's everybody worked as hard as they could for that one moment in time where they're running that race, that one moment in time where they're jumping that hurdle, and they're winners and they're losers.
Right.
You don't start beating up the winner. You don't start saying, I'm gonna trip that athlete as they're running.
Exactly.
You say, wow, I tried my hardest, they tried their hardest, I gotta go out there and try again.
That's right.
But you can't have ill will just because someone disagrees with you.
Or, that's true, or you can't blame your parents if you see someone who has excelled in a sport, or let's say as a ballerina or
Right.
a dancer or actor, whatever, and you say, I could have done that, but my parents never put me in these programs.
Oh, you know what?
And they're responsible for me not being, that could have been me. I don't believe that,
No. Yeah.
I believe that God put purpose on the inside of
Each person.
even the parent. We find ourselves just raising our children. We think that we're just doing what, comes to our mind, but a lot of times it's so strategic that we're training, and they're all individuals. Each individual child.
And you would know that better than anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
We're raising them without even realizing sometimes that that's something that they needed or they didn't need. Because in the fullness of time, we'll see what happens as a result. And I'll give you this example. And my oldest son, Jermaine, if you're listening, hello.
Watch your mommy's show.
Washington.
Okay.
Right. He always wanted to play baseball. And when he was 8 years old, he was crazy about Darryl Strawberry. And I would tell him, that's great, but if God put in your spirit for you to do something else, always be willing to say, yes, Lord, I'll be obedient to whatever you called me to do. And so I raised him all those years with that in mind. He didn't get to play professional baseball. We had a lot of kids.
Right.
He was the first of the 13 children. And so, we did our best. He did a little karate. He was in...
You exposed them to a bunch of different things.
Exactly. So when he got older, he did try out for baseball, but by then, he was in Little League for like a summer.
Right, okay.
But now he has a son who is a football player. He's 6 years old, JJ. Hi, JJ. And he was telling me about how I raised him. And, with the discipline and the structure and all of that. He's a private school teacher.
Your son now,
Today,
we're talking about.
yes.
Yeah, right?
Jermaine is a private school teacher. He also teaches physical ed. And he's also a dean of students.
Wow, he's doing all that stuff.
And he also has a second job. But he is his son's coach. And he has two sons, so both of them are going to be in sports. But he told me, he said, you know what? I realized that I could have been a baseball player and just a baseball player. He said, but what I see myself doing, what I'm doing with my own son now, I see that was the purpose for me to coach and for me to direct the life and affect the lives of other children. And that is so much more rewarding than just being a baseball player.
And you know what? Again, a lot of times I go to parables because I feel like sometimes they explain things better than. There's a story of this guy who he had horses, and one day the horse ran away, and the neighbors go, "Oh, bad luck," and he goes, "Good luck, bad luck, who's to say?" Next day, the horse came back with a mate, and they go, "Oh wow, now you have 2 horses. What good luck?" And he goes, "Good luck, bad luck, who's to say?" The next day, his son went out there to try to train the horse, and the horse, got up in the air and threw the guy off and broke his leg. And they're like, "Oh, bad luck." And he's like, "Good luck, bad luck, who's to say?" The next day, the army came around and they were drafting people because the son had a broken leg. He couldn't go to the army. So you never know where each thing in life, and you could say, "Oh, this is horrible. I can't believe this happened." And then because of that, you create an organization that changes things, or you create, what's that guy's name? Oh, he was a popular Spanish musician. I could see his name. His son became popular. I can't remember the guy's name. I'll think of it probably off air. But anyway, points being, he broke his leg, and he was doing a totally different profession. So he started playing the guitar in the hospital, and he was playing the guitar, and then he had hit records and everything, something good that he never would have even discovered that he had, because he wouldn't have been sitting in a hospital for weeks and weeks and weeks. So anyway, the thing is in life, it's whatever life hands us. We don't always like it, but we don't know the reason sometimes why we've been handed that. Maybe you've been handed that because God feels you'll be a good messenger to get over whatever it is, whatever illness you have or whatever. So then later on you can tell people how you did it and God's using you, but you have to go through it to be able to do it and then say, "God, please, now I'm now I'm going to help other people because I actually went through it."
That's awesome. And so what we have here is a phenomenal woman.
Oh, thank you.
And she's a phenomenal mom. We didn't even go into detail about all of her certifications, awards.
Yeah.
She's all that. But sitting right here on her couch, she's Fran, and she's sharing with the world her heart, her love for people, and her desire to encourage people to be the best that they could be. She's written 19 books, and I'm sure, and she mentioned earlier that she would read a chapter in her book to her son, who was young at the time. So if she was able to do that, that means that she was not exposing her son to anything that he shouldn't be exposed to. So that tells you that even in her writing, she's careful as to what she says and what she does and what she's communicating to people. And if it's good enough for your son, it's good enough for the rest
And
of
I would always ask him, "Spence, what do you feel like you got out of this?" And it turns out he tells me now that he would read the books to his girlfriend. As she was going, he goes, "I read it to my girlfriend. She really liked that book." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how cute. You actually stayed there and read the book. Thank you."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's great support. So we're going to wrap up this interview. I had such a wonderful time.
Thank you, so did I. I love that we were able to just talk about these things, and hopefully you guys, got a good message. And if you ever want to get in contact with me, you go to Fran, F-R-A-N, Capo, C-A-P-O, francapo.com. All my books are available through there, but hopefully the City of Light really does have 44 principles of happiness that I would really love for people to share with the world.
Awesome. Yes. Okay, so this is Journals, Jewels, and Journeys magazine, and we're saying good night.
The fear no beat up keeps going on, and the melody of my escape.
Just in case I have a hot flash.
Okay, whatever. But just, I always feel like just never be embarrassed to say something on camera.
I know.
Just say, "I'm going to take this off. You know what? I'm having a hot flash."
Yeah.
And that's why I'm doing the fan.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
Exactly.
is that the one from upstairs?
No.
Oh, I have one just like that.
Really? I got it from Dollar Tree.
I don't know where I got mine from, but I have one like that too.
Wow.
So I was like, "Oh, cool. Yeah."
You want to get your fan?
Do you want me to get my fan?
Yeah.
I'll go get my fan.